All right, our next few videos are going to be about the robber barons, or if you like them, what do you call them? Captains of industry, right? So, we have the big boys up here, okay? The guys that were billionaires and millionaires in the days of the late 1800s and early 1900s. Now, only 4 of them are pictured here, 4 of the main ones. I'm going to add a 5th one. You need to know, for the test, which robber baron was in charge of which industry. Remember, these guys had a monopoly over their entire industry. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the richest man that ever lived. His name is John D. Rockefeller. John D. Rockefeller is in charge of oil, okay? He owned or controlled 95% of the oil in America by the time he retired. Cornelius Vanderbilt is our railroad guy. Okay, this guy controlled all railroads in the Northeast, which is where all the cities are at this time in history. Most of the cities are at this time in history, which is where all the factories are, because, you know, in order to have factories, you have to have cities. You have to have cheap labor. Andrew Carnegie, okay, he was born in Scotland, and now he resides in the United States, and he is the steel robber baron. Started off as a bridge builder and moved into making steel. Okay, J. Piermont Morgan, okay, John Piermont Morgan. J.P. Morgan, that's what we call him. You've probably heard of his bank before, Morgan, okay. Today I think it's Morgan Chase, so they've merged with another company. But he is our investment banker. He's the one that realized that you don't have to have your own money to make money. You can use somebody else's money to make money. So he took the money that people put in his bank and he reinvested it and made millions upon millions of dollars. The 5th one that I'm going to require you to know for the test is E.C. Knight. Okay. Now E.C. Knight is not listed right here. He will come later on in the chapter. But E.C. Knight is what I like to call the sugar daddy. Okay. And that's because he was in charge of refining every single grain of sugar in the United States. And you know how much Americans love their sugar. Okay. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about robber barons, okay? So, business organization and justification. Robber barons made monopolies, okay? That's where one business gains complete control of an industry. You should know that from your basic U.S. history vocabulary chat, okay? Now, a synonym, as it came to be, of a monopoly is a trust company, okay? We're going to organize a group of companies, a bunch of companies, basically act as one company even though they are not one company, and therefore they can raise prices together and no competition exists, and the people that get the raw end of the stick here are the consumers, because if all companies are raising their prices at the same rate, then you have to pay it, okay? They pay dividends on the profits to the trust company, okay? So out of this, a lot of people started questioning the justification for robber barons' ways of life. How can a few men, maybe 200 robber barons, that's about how many there were in the United States, how can 200 men have 95% of the wealth of the country? Okay? How is that possible? How is that legal? How is that moral? Well, the way the robber barons justified it was through a new idea called social Darwinism, okay? Like we said before in the vocabulary video, Charles Darwin invented the theory of evolution, and he also invented the survival of the fittest theory, okay? So basically, social Darwinism takes the Bible and social policies and Darwinism, which is evolution and survival of the fittest, and it twists it all up together into this really weird idea. The idea that God made select individuals, robber barons, superior to everybody else in the acquisition and use of wealth. In other words, God made robber barons superior to you. Therefore, if you question their place in the world, you are questioning God himself. That's social Darwinism, okay? Now, the guy who invented evolution, this is him right here. This is Charles Darwin. This is a colorized photograph of him from the 1800s. And he had a book called Origin of the Species, okay? It was used to justify the immense wealth of the robber barons and survival of the fittest. Okay? So that's what social Darwinism is.